NRG800 asks, do you think that large carnivorous dinosaurs such as Tyrannosaurus and Giganotosaurus had feathers, and if so, why? Now this question has two parts. Tyrannosaurus and Giganotosaurus evolved from two different lineages. Giganotosaurus, one of the largest carnivorous dinosaurs known, was a carnivore, a member of Carnisauria. Now these dinosaurs were the large, carnivorous, mostly three-fingered theropods, which were more closely related to Allosaurus than they were to birds. Tyrannosaurus, on the other hand, was a Coelurosaurian, a member of Coelurosauria, a family which includes raptors, therizinosaurs, birds, oviraptors, and just to name a few. The one thing that convinces me that Tyrannosaurus could have had feathers is the fact that so many Coelurosaurs exhibit bird-like traits, including wishbones, hollow bones, and feathers. Even early relatives of Tyrannosaurus, such as Dylon, have been shown to have primitive hair-like feathers, called protofeathers. I believe that Tyrannosaurs, as well as other large Coelurosaurs, had feathers for at least some of their lives. For Tyrannosaurs, I think this stage was probably when they were young. Adults were probably bald or had few feathers. Giganotosaurus, on the other hand, was probably bald for all of its life. But like Tyrannosaurs, at least in my mind, they could have had feathers when they were young. The one thing that convinces me that they didn't have feathers is that, as I said earlier, carnivores are more closely related to Allosaurus than they are to birds. Now, we know specimens of Allosaurus from nearly every stage of their life, from embryos to adults. And on any of these skeletons, we don't find a single piece of evidence that indicates that they have feathers. Now, I know that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, but even just by looking at the bones, we can tell that if feathers were attached or not. And on Allosaurus, we don't see any of those attachments. And Giganotosaurus, being closely related, was probably similar. One thing that could prove me wrong about featherless carnosaurs was the discovery of a Chinese dinosaur known as Tianyulong. Now this dinosaur, as opposed to being a saurischian like sauropods and theropods, was an ornithischian. Now ornithischians are the herbivorous dinosaurs, including dinosaurs like Triceratops, Stegosaurus, and others. Tianyulong also had feathers. But does this mean that if an ornithischian had feathers, that everything else more closely related to birds also had feathers? Because ornithischians aren't very closely related to birds. This could prove me wrong, but I think that the feathers of Tianyulong, as well as the quills on other ornithischians such as Psittacosaurus and possibly Triceratops, evolved independently of the feathers and protofeathers found on theropods. Thank you, Energy, for the question, and I'll see you next time someone asks anything.